Welcome to This Explainer. We spend our entire lives taking the sun completely for granted. It dictates our days, our seasons, and literally sustains every single living ecosystem on our planet. But what if that cosmic anchor was suddenly gone? What if our planet was violently ripped from its orbit and just sent hurtling through the darkest depths of space as a rogue planet? Well, today we are going to map out the exact sequence of events.
Okay, let's dive into this ultimate disaster scenario. Because in an instant, the cosmic tether snaps. We actually wouldn't know it immediately, but the very foundation of our existence would be erased. Just imagine looking up at the sky and suddenly, the brightest object in our universe simply isn't there anymore. We'd be thrust immediately into a world plunged into complete and utter darkness. But honestly, the darkness is just the beginning of the nightmare.
Phase 1. The loss of gravity. Imagine the catastrophic moment the anchor holding our world in place simply vanishes. Gravitational force is that invisible cosmic pull from the sun, and it is literally the only thing keeping Earth safely locked in its predictable, life-giving orbit. The sun contains over 99% of all the mass in our entire solar system. That massive weight bends the fabric of space, creating a gravitational well that we safely circle year after year. But if a massive external force, say a passing rogue star, disrupted this delicate balance, that invisible pull would break, and without it, Earth is instantly set adrift. We wouldn't fall into the sun. Instead, Earth would just fly off in a straight line at over 67,000 miles per hour, acting exactly like a ship that's just had its mooring line completely severed in a violent storm.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how absolute the scale of this change is. On one side, we have our normal Earth, right? Sunlight, a stable orbit, thriving, vibrant life. On the other, the immediate reality of a rogue Earth. Eternal night, untethered drifting, and rapidly plunging temperatures. We are transitioning from a closed, perfectly balanced warm system into an open, hostile, and endlessly cold void. It is a stark contrast for sure, and it totally sets the stage for the physical transformation of our entire globe. Phase 2. Plunging into extreme cold.
So we've lost our light, but more importantly, we have lost our only significant source of heat. And the creeping dread of this doomsday scenario maps out terrifyingly fast. Within just 8.5 minutes of the sun disappearing, or our ejection, complete darkness would just wash over the globe. The stars would suddenly become terrifyingly bright against a pitch-black sky. Then, within days, the residual heat of the Earth would begin radiating out into the vacuum of space, leading to a rapid and violent drop in Celsius temperatures. And without the sun's warming rays to replenish that heat, the cooling is exponential. Within months, we wouldn't just be dealing with a harsh winter, we're looking at a global surface freeze. The environment turns from hospitable to deadly in the blink of a cosmic eye.
Minus 100 degrees Celsius. Let that number really sink in for a second. As days turn into weeks, the global average temperature would relentlessly plunge toward this mark, and then even lower. To put that into perspective, human bodies simply cannot function at these extremes. Cellular structures freeze, machinery stops working entirely, and the power grids we rely on to generate artificial heat would rapidly fail under the massive stress of the deep freeze. This continuous plunge represents a total environmental collapse for absolutely any surface-dwelling life.
Phase 3. Freezing oceans and continents.
So how does this extreme cold fundamentally alter the very geography of the Earth? Well, think about Antarctica. Right now, it's the most isolated, deeply frozen continent on Earth. It's a hostile, icy wasteland where survival is incredibly difficult, even with our best modern technology. But in a rogue planet scenario, Antarctica is no longer an outlier. It's a chilling preview of the entire globe. The frozen, hostile conditions of the South Pole will rapidly spread outwards, marching right across the equator to consume every single continent and ocean. Deserts, rainforests, tropical islands, they are all going to share the exact same icy fate.
Let's walk through exactly how this glaciation process works on our oceans, step by step. First, the surface waters of every ocean on Earth freeze solid. Now, this actually creates a sort of insulating layer of ice at the top. Second, as the ambient temperature continues to drop, this ice layer thickens relentlessly downwards, pushing deeper and deeper into the abyss. And finally, step 3 is total isolation. The deep oceans might remain liquid for a time, warmed just a tiny bit by geothermal vents from the Earth's core, but the surface entirely locked in miles-thick ice. Life on the surface simply cannot withstand this absolute cold, and the terrestrial food chain collapses entirely.
Phase 4. When the atmosphere freezes.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the transformation doesn't stop at the oceans. This is perhaps the most extreme and, honestly, bizarre phase of all. We're looking at an atmosphere of roughly 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. Now, we generally think of these as permanent gases, right? But in the deep void of space, temperatures drop so incredibly low, approaching minus 200 degrees Celsius and beyond, that the basic laws of physics just take over. At these extremes, gas doesn't stay gas. It condenses into liquid, and then it freezes into solid matter. Our sky would literally fall. Nitrogen and oxygen would freeze solid and fall to the ground as this bizarre alien snow.
Just let that sit with you for a moment. This right here is the absolute limit of biological survival. Without an atmosphere, there is no air pressure, there's no breathable oxygen, and there is absolutely no protection from the harsh radiation of deep space, cosmic rays, or micrometeorites. Even if you somehow manage to build a bunker to survive the cold, the freezing of the atmosphere means the surface of the Earth is functionally indistinguishable from the surface of an asteroid. Survival on the surface goes from highly improbable to physically impossible.
Phase 5. Earth as a rogue planet.
So what is the eternal fate of our once vibrant world? Earth is now a silent wanderer. It's drifting endlessly through the galaxy, entirely free from any solar orbit. And, the sheer terrifying scale of this dark journey through the void is kind of hard to comprehend. Along its path out of our neighborhood, Earth might cross paths with the absolute giants of our system, passing massive celestial bodies like Jupiter. The gravitational interplay of zooming past a gas giant could violently alter Earth's trajectory even further, slingshotting it out into the uncharted dark expanses of the Milky Way. It basically becomes a frozen, dead sphere, perfectly preserving the ruins of our civilization under layers of frozen atmosphere and miles of ice. As Earth drifts past Jupiter and out into that silent void, we really have to ask ourselves, how fragile is our existence? This entire scenario highlights just how absolute our reliance on the sun truly is. Every breath we take, every drop of liquid water, the very gases that make up our sky, they are all a delicate cosmic gift provided by our star. Staring into this cosmic abyss really puts our daily lives into perspective, doesn't it? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating, chilling explainer with me today. Keep asking questions and keep looking up.